Tom Golden, you've been quite a success as a therapist and built up a really solid practice. And I'd like to talk a minute about what does it take to build up a practice, because I meet some very good therapists. I don't know they teach therapists how to market themselves in therapist school, you know?
Unless school's really changed, no, nobody teaches you how to market.
Right. And I'd like to kind of talk about it because I think we're on the same value level of marketing. So I'll let you speak, but you're right now pretty much turning people away, and you even work with remote clients at times. Is that correct?
Yeah, it's a nice spot that I'm in. For anybody who's getting started now, in this day and age, what I would suggest is people first find a niche. That is a place where you are an expert, where you've got experience, you know what you're doing, and you can draw people in. So, I mean, it could be like mine was grief. It's like I learned everything I could about grief. I knew as much as I could about it. I worked with a lot of people. But it could be anything, Martin. It could be family work. It could be gaming. There's so much out there. The problems with the young boys and gaming, and parents are just throwing their hands up in the air. They don't know what to do. So a young male therapist who's just starting out, who's a gamer, could merge those two skills together and could be like both a therapist and a gamer who could really relate with the young boy. Might even play some with him, who knows? But anyway, the idea of getting a niche first is so critical because there's lots of therapists out there. And it's easier if you've got a specialty, if you've got something that you do better than other people. And then once you have that in your brain, and you may already have it, you may just have to identify that that's your interest, something you have passion for. Once you have that, then, build a blog. And start writing content, start writing articles about your niche, start writing things where people go, oh, that's interesting. I never thought about that. That he's got something there. And then, of course, at the bottom of your blog post is your name and address and phone number, and when you call me here or email me here, etc. And you're pulling people in. Of course, you want to tweet about it. You want to throw it on every social media piece you can. But get it out there. And the best way to get known as an expert is to put your content out on the internet and let people find it, because they will find it. Some people might like children. Some people might like something else. Who knows what? But make sure it's a niche where you've got enough people out there that you can support your practice. But go with your passion. Go with people who are therapists, Martin, a lot of times they will get into going to school because they had an idea or a dream about what they want to do. Think back to that dream. Think back to what you really wanted to do and see if there's a niche there.
And then from there, what I think is very important is understand questions and keywords. I want to talk a little bit about that because what happens is people that come from traditional education often think in terms of what I call magazine titles, not something that someone would find on the web. So they'll build a blog, right? They'll build their blog with a cutesy title that if I saw it in a magazine, I'd stop and read it.
Yes.
But unless maybe I hallucinated something, I wouldn't find it on the internet.
Right.
So, it might be start listening to your patients and people of the questions they ask, and then you can write a blog on it and protect their confidentiality. So if you've got two patients that, let's say parents come and go, how do I know if my son is addicted to video games? And you've heard this before. And let's take that analogy. Well, then the blog title shouldn't be things you should know if they're addicted. It should be, how would I know if my son's addicted to video games?
Yes. Yes.
And make it dead on, listening on the ground and creating the content as well. And if you
what sucks people into, Martin, is the old 5 things that will let you know that that kind of thing.
Right, but make sure it's 5 things to know he's addicted to video games.
Exactly.
I'm saying 5 things you need to know on addiction. And it's global, it's not a sub-niche.
Yes.
And then the next piece, which is another aspect of this, is make sure at the bottom of the blog you have what action you want them to take next. Because what they'll do is they'll pay someone to build a nice therapeutic and very attractive website, and then there'll be an about, and they'll go, well, the about's over here, but I'm not getting the business I want. I go, no, the call to action or the next desirable state should be at that bottom of the blog right there.
Every page.
Every page. Every page, as though it's a standalone document.
Yes.
And what if they never saw anything else on your website? Are you helping them know if they want more, where to go next?
Exactly.
One more thing I think is very good is I still believe LinkedIn can be good, because as a therapist, it's more of a controlled environment and you can get content and make it available. I believe in the therapeutic world, people are doing research online to learn, to decide who they want to work with, and they're looking for that data. I mean, someone may not post as a review on your site and say, I had a crack addiction and this person nailed it for me. So it's not like something else where people always are going to be public about the value they got, but they are doing research, and that's another place. And make sure that LinkedIn sells you well. Tom, we talked about your LinkedIn, and we got that. I said, what's a picture that's metaphorically you think speaks of where people might be and understand? And you had a picture of a family member, something walking, I thought was excellent, at the top of your LinkedIn. That gave it was you to be approachable, and then it almost implied a story of what connects you to people.
Yes, and it was kind of a path. It's like walking a path, and I liked that image.
And you, of course, your niche was not just grief, but men in grief.
Right.
And you didn't go, oh my God, I need a livelihood. You have a great story. I'll let them find elsewhere on it. But then you picked that and developed it, and then started to learn things.
Well, it kind of picked me, I think, more than anything else.
I think that's a great way of putting it.
Yeah,
now, I'm also an advocate of YouTube because people are on it.
Oh yeah. And Martin, if these therapists are local, if they're going to have a face-to-face practice, another thing they can do is start offering free seminars for other therapists in the area who might refer to them.
It's a great point.
Give them a 30-minute, lunchtime talk on whatever your niche is. And then that will tell them, A, you've got expertise in this area, and B, how to reach you, and C, they'll learn something about what you're doing. So that's a really easy thing to do, to get to know other therapists, because you want to try and get therapists to refer. It used to be, Martin, that ministers were the big referrers. That's kind of burned out. It's no longer the case. Mostly therapists are referring now to other therapists.
I think that's an excellent piece, because in your field or some other professions, especially where the client doesn't always want the world to know they're working with them.
Right.
That's where you want to build those strategic allies and find who you network with, who you can refer to. And that's also where I'm an advocate. You didn't need to do it, but I'm an advocate of having a Google listing. And so where would you get reviews? Well, if you're dealing with addiction, it may not be your clients, but it doesn't mean someone who refers them couldn't give you a recommendation. It's the strategic ally or someone you work with.
Yes. Other thing therapists can do is refer to other therapists. Because when a therapist gets a referral from another therapist, that makes them more likely to want to refer back to you.
Yeah.
Get that flow going back and forth. You get to know them, and they get to know you, and that's what you want.
That's a great point, is be someone who looks out and refers if you want to get them. And that's fundamental to my coaching and my relationship marketing. The best way to get referrals is start giving them.
Yes, you give out what you want back.
Find a niche that you have passion with and really start generating some content on it. Have a ground game of meeting other people and associates, communicate with them. And I like the idea of having YouTube videos so they can get to know you.
Absolutely. And also know, Martin, that the therapist, this is going to take a while. This is not a short-term project.
Yeah.
So don't get frustrated. Just day in, day out, do a little bit each day and see what happens.
The other piece of it is understanding in video. Tom, you've learned how to get comfortable in speaking in video, but often when people begin, they become a different person with a little black dot they're looking at. So I'm an advocate of maybe have someone that's a compassionate listener they're comfortable talking to off screen to get those initial videos, because we want to make sure they don't become a different person on the video. And that's something I've seen before. They're authentic and they're real. You turn on the camera and they're, "Hey, hi, I'm a you should hire me." You don't know how to be inauthentic, but or just got practice. It could have been the fact you were a musician of something, where it just didn't occur. But that's my other advice is it's okay to have someone off screen to capture that video content.
Yeah, Martin, what really helped me was that I had a lot of history doing thespian stuff, being in plays, things like that. And that's not a bad idea for therapists who are trying to pull people in, is to go out and get into a play or two. You'll meet people, but also it's good practice in being able to be spontaneous and to to do things on the fly. And, when you're on stage, it gets you a sense of what it's like to be on stage. So do a little bit of that.
Well, fascinating. Well, Tom, thanks for giving a few tips, because I've known you for years and I've heard so many great things from people you worked with that have come to me and said, I worked with Tom and he's excellent. So you really serve a great purpose. How can they learn a little bit more about you and your therapist? I know you aren't looking for new people, but I do want to tell them at least about your book and resources that might be of value to therapists.
That's another thing, Martin, is that write a book, about your niche. Write a book. This is what I did. I've written 3 books basically on the niche that I had. And they're basically how men heal. And you can find them on Amazon. Just The Way Men Heal is one of them. And it's the easiest one to remember probably. And then you'll find the other 2 there. There's one that I wrote recently, Martin, on helping mothers understand their sons, which is really critical because there's a lot of single mothers out there that don't have the benefit of having a testosterone-laden mate who can kind of understand this 13-year-old boy who's going through all kinds of stuff, So learning more about boys is a really good thing for moms because they start to understand them a little better. Write a book about it, and you can start with a blog. Once you've got 20 blog posts, you've got a book. Write 30 blog posts and put them together in a book. Boom. Then you can introduce yourself as author.
Yeah, excellent.
That helps too, Martin. Good marketing stuff.
Right. And then Swallowed by the Snake, which was your first one, which is the deep dive into it.
Yeah.
And I think, every time I meet a therapist, I want them to at least know what you've done. So you get allies that want them to do it. And the book is a very approachable way to be able to learn about your practice and your process.
And of course, in your book, you have your phone number and your address and how to contact you,
Excellent. Thanks so much, Tom. This was great.
Good to be with you.